Hey guys, super hot today here in Leeds. Well, you know, not super hot like for the rest of the world super hot, but for us UKites, and we're just finding out that this isn't the best studio space when it's warm, because, can you see that? That there, in fact, all along we've got these glass panels. Wicked. But in hot weather, it's kind of turning out that they're like a greenhouse. So we're actually roasting at the minute. George is loving it, just loving it, every minute of it. Anyway guys, today I've been thinking about soloing, and I'm thinking about soloing because we're just in the final stages of editing the Rufus Philpott course that we'll be releasing. In fact, when you guys watch this video, it will be released. Rufus is one of the best bass players in the world, just absolutely frightening. And we're lucky enough to have him as part of the SBL faculty here at Scott's Bass Lessons. He does live seminars for you guys, and he does, well, he's just recorded a course, which, in fact, I'll give you a little glimpse of Rufus right now. Okay, so as you can see, Rufus knows his stuff, and the course that we've just released is all about improvisation and phrasing. As you can tell by the title of this lesson, this is all about soloing for bass players specifically, and I'm going to be talking about phrasing, and it's kind of, a lot of that kind of thing is inspired by Rufus and what he talks about in that course. So if you do enjoy this lesson, go check out Rufus's course. You'll find it via a link below, and I'm sure it'll blow you away. Ooh, look, new coloured glove. What do you think, guys? Is this any less weird than the white glove? Was the white glove too MJ? I don't know. Let me know what you think about the flesh coloured glove. Anyway, let's get on with the lesson. 10 soloing mistakes that so many bass players make. Okay, so number one is not practicing melodies. What is a solo? In its pure form, it's really just a melody. Now, as bass players, we're very used to, you know, being down this bottom end. We're very used to doing that, but are we? We're not really used to doing this. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm used to doing it because I've practiced it for hours and hours and hours, a gazillion hours. But I can remember switching from that moment of being bass player, you know, doing that thing down there, to doing this thing up here. And it was, you know, there was some crunching of the gears, let's put it that way. And one thing that would have really helped me out is just practicing melodies, okay? The great thing about using melodies to get you started with soloing is that it frees you up in terms of rhythm. Just by taking a simple melody like the Flintstones, for instance, it's giving you a real variety of rhythm, and it's making you, or it's forcing you to find out what it feels like not to be just down here creating those bass lines. Stuff like that is really fun and cool to practice, and will help your soloing in the long run. The next mistake a lot of bass players make is always thinking root first. So when they hear a D minor, they're going to play like from D minor, G7, C major 7. They always gravitate towards the root, and that's because as bass players, what we're playing a lot of the time, we're playing the roots. If you take just that simple, those simple 3 chords, D minor to G7 to C major Okay, we're just aiming for these roots a lot of the time. So when we start soloing, what happens? Same thing. We always gravitate to the root. If I say B flat major 7, 9 times out of 10, a lot of players will start the phrase on a B flat. A really cool exercise to get into this is to take that 2-5-1, that D minor to G7 to C major 7, and try and start a phrase from the third of each chord. Okay, so the first chord would be, okay, next phrase on the G7, and then to the third of the C major. Okay, and just by really pushing yourself away from gravitating to that root, it's going to make your solo sound above the harmony. Now don't get me wrong, it's hard work to do this. It's tough work, but with a really focused practice routine, you will do it. And you'll just get out of that same old habit of just gravitating to the roots all the time. The next mistake is thinking that the pentatonic scale is your get out of jail free card. It's not. Now, the worst offenders for this, worst offenders, are guitar players. Okay, we learned that blues scale, yeah? Check this out. There's a ton of stuff that you can't just use one scale on. I was a guitar player beforehand, and I can remember when I started playing bass, and the sudden realization that I couldn't play one scale over an entire song scared the living daylights out of me. So the minor pentatonic scale isn't the be all and end all. Yes, it's a cool scale. It is a cool scale. I'm not discounting it. But it's only a small part of the puzzle. Now, it's actually derived from the major scale. The minor pentatonic, the blues scale, is derived from the major scale. What is the most important scale? Of all the scales that you should focus on, it's the major scale. It's the major scale, because so many of the other scales are related to the major scale, right? So all of the modes, where do they come from? They're related to the major scale. Where did the minor pentatonic scale come from? It's related to the major scale. Well, if somebody's trying to learn the melodic minor, for instance, how do so many people teach that? Oh, it's like a major scale with a flat third. Okay, so by learning just the major scale, well, not just the major scale, but by really getting deep and down into the major scale and learning it all over the neck, learning all over the neck in multiple keys, all the keys, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it. The fourth mistake is thinking that scales and arpeggios, learning them, is the key to being able to solo well. And it's not. We need to learn to use those tools. The scales and the arpeggios, yes, they're the foundational building blocks of everything we're going to do, including rhythm, but they're just the building blocks. We got to learn how to build them. We need to learn how to build the house. Like, I think a lot of people get discouraged when they do learn quite a few scales and a few arpeggios, and then they find out that it isn't that they can't use them instantly. You know, there isn't this instant, juice that they turn on and they're a great soloist. So if that is you, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, oh, I'm getting there, well, don't worry, I'm about to tell you what the next few mistakes are, and it's in direct relation to this one. Okay, so the fifth mistake is that they don't learn vocabulary. This is how we turn into great soloists. Think about it, okay? We get our alphabet, we learn grammar, we learn our scales, we learn our arpeggios, we learn how to apply them on the neck, but then what do? Then we start to transcribe other people's bass lines. You want to be transcribing other trumpet players' solos, other piano players' solos. You want to be learning their lines. You want to be, okay, listen to a piece. They play C major 7. Okay, what are they playing over that C major 7? all that stuff I'm playing, I've learnt it from listening to other players. I'm working out what they're doing and then I'm applying it to my own solos. That's the key, guys, okay? So to develop your own vocabulary, what you want to be listening for and working out is other people's vocabulary and really getting that, working out on your bass and getting it into your playing. It's such a huge game changer. And everything I play, I can put down, I can be like, oh, I stole that from that guy, I stole this from that guy, I stole that thing from that girl. You know, I've got it all from other people and then it all gets molded together and then that's my sound. That's who I sound like. So don't be scared about sounding like somebody else. Steal their stuff, get it into your playing and then it'll essentially sound like you after time anyway. Okay, so the sixth mistake I'm going to talk about is directly related to the last one as well. Okay, so transcribing, yeah, transcribe bass players, but don't fall into the mistake of only transcribing bass players. You want to be listening to all instruments, okay, all instruments. Obviously, guitar players, listen to guitar players, they're great soloists. Listen to trumpet players, they're great soloists, and a lot of their lines are directly transferable to bass. Trombone players as well. Trombone players are great soloists and their lines directly transferable to bass. Don't pigeonhole yourself and just listen to bass players because you're missing out on just so many great solos, so many great players. You want to be listening to a ton of different players and a ton of different instruments, transcribing their stuff and getting it into your solos. Mistake number 7 is not using backing tracks or practice tracks. Now, I know they're not ideal. I get it, right? I know that the old schoolers didn't have this capability to, you know, hit a CD or MP3 these days and play along. That was great for them, but it doesn't have to be great for us, okay? We've got the ability to get all these backing tracks. They're all over YouTube, there's backing tracks everywhere. You can get them, use them, guys, and just practice all of that vocabulary that you've been learning. Practice it on top of the, on top of the play-alongs, on top of those backing tracks, because otherwise you're going to get on a gig and start trying to practice this stuff, and the worst place to practice is on the bandstand. You don't want to be practicing on the bandstand. You want to be practicing at home, okay, or in rehearsal. Now, if you can get to a rehearsal room with other like-minded musicians and do this, absolutely go for it. But practice tracks and backing tracks are a great, they're great for what they are, so don't discount them, and I would recommend starting to use them straight away. And while I'm talking about backing tracks, if you haven't signed up for the Scott's Bass Lessons Toolkit yet, it's totally free and there's a ton of different resources in there. Videos about buying your next bass, where I sit down with Chris May for 20 minutes, who's a master luthier, and talk about the things that you should be taking into consideration. There's a bassline creation guide in there where I think it's like 30 or 40 minutes long, where you get backing tracks, the whole thing. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you about, and this is totally for free, but the reason I'm telling you about it, guys, is because there's a full backing track library in there as well. Tons of tracks for you to download and play along with. So all you need to do is go to Scott. In fact, I'll just put the link below. It'd be easy for me to just put the link below. There'll be a link down there below this video that says Toolkit. Then if you're on the website, scottsbasslessons.com, I'll put it up there in the navigation. It will say Toolkit. Click on there and you'll get access to all the backing tracks and everything else. So the next mistake is thinking notes over time. And what I mean by this is putting the importance of a note over the importance of time. And that means you're going to lose the groove to play a note, and this is a big no-no. Let me find a wrong note just to put this in an example for you. Okay, so that's a C minor, so let's play a C minor arpeggio. Okay, so probably the most wrong note I could play over that is a major third. So over this, you can make it work. Okay, it's a wrong note. Okay, so I'm using a wrong note there, but it's cool because I'm doing it with conviction and the timing is there. I think Victor Wooten once said, Man, I hope somebody says that about me one day. Scott Divine once said. But anyway, I think Victor Wooten once said, never lose the groove for a note. And he was bang on, okay? Rhythm is everything. Making sure that you are landing on that pulse and you're in the pocket is everything. Even if it's a wrong note, okay? Never lose the groove for a note. The next mistake is not leaving space within your phrases or within your solos. I'm sure you've all heard, let's take a 2-5-1 for instance. What you need to do is leave space between your, and here's the key bit, between your phrases. Instead of this, so instead of that, you get this. I'm leaving space between the phrases. It's key, guys. Make sure you start getting it into your playing today. Okay, so number 10, and it is a biggie, guys, is not using dynamics in your solos. I hear so many bass players going, you know, this kind of thing. Okay, so that was a mix of being, you know, just no phrasing and monotonal as hell, okay? No dynamic within your solos. Now, I could, just to demonstrate this, I'm going to add dynamics, but I'm going to play non-stop. So I'm going to play with terrible phrasing, but I'm going to put dynamics into it, and you'll hear how you can kind of get away with it just because you've given it more dynamics. So there you can see that you're feeling a little bit of that, you know, you're getting the hills and the valleys, not as much as if you were to leave space as well in between the phrases. So practice your dynamics. It's a really simple exercise to do this. Is take a major scale and play it from quiet to loud and then back down. Now guys, D-Mac's come back in. D-Mac, I've just been telling them about, oh, he's got the food on the table. He loves this place. This is like, I think you're sponsored by this place, right? No, honestly, he goes, how many times do you go a week to this place?
Too many.
D-Mac's just been editing Rufus's the intro for the course and stuff like that. So what we'll do is we'll end on a little clip of Rufus giving it some steam on the bass. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and as always, if you haven't been to scottsbasslessons.com, do so. And other than that, take it in the... Take it. What do I know what to say?
Take it. No, see
Take
you.
it easy. See you. See
Yeah.
you in the...
Share.
So I'm hoping that the type of bass player that will benefit from this course is one that's been playing for a year or two. You've maybe got a little bit of idea about harmony and theory, but you're wanting to dive into playing over chord changes, learning how to play an effective solo, how to play a melody, how to make the instrument speak. So say if you're on a gig and you get a chance to take a solo, or even if you have to play the melody on a tune, which sometimes happens, you won't be afraid of that. You'll be confident to make that melody sound really beautiful and speak on this instrument, which is a great instrument, but which isn't automatically thought of as an instrument that's optimal for playing melody. We get inside concepts based on really musical ideas, not just about chops and technique, but really getting inside some of the concepts of some really amazing players who've gone before us who we can benefit from studying. So some of the topics that I cover in this course, I start off with an overview with just some of the basic core principles about phrasing, note length, sound. We're going to look at playing just a part of a melody from a classic jazz standard, even just the first couple of bars, how to really get inside that melody and fashion the notes, thinking about tone on the instrument, vibrato, whether to use vibrato or not, what type of vibrato to use, note length, letting notes ring, learning to be confident to play a long note when appropriate, and not to choke notes prematurely, but to really be confident in letting the sound of that note ring out over the chord. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at a couple of Charlie Parker ideas, lines from Billy's Bounce. And instead of just learning to look at one line over one chord, we're going to look at how we can take an idea from a player, and by tweaking one or two notes in that idea, we can use this line over many different chord types, which gives us a lot more value for money when we're working on something. It really expands our mind. We're going to look at a little bit of Pat Metheny's work on a blues called Nothing Personal. You're going to hear me play over a couple of different blues forms as well, major and minor, and different tempos. You can see that I'm still using ideas and concepts that kind of link together from all the ideas I'm going to show you. You're going to hear me then using them over the playing examples too. Hi, this is Rufus Philpott, and welcome to my course at Scott's Bass Lessons. I hope you're going to really enjoy this. I think there's some really exciting stuff in here, so check it out.